Please help me welcome Ken Burns, Sarah Burns, and David McMahon.
Thank you all. We would like to invite up at this time Raymond Santana and Yousef Salaam and Kharey Wise to join us up here.
I will begin and start with a question for the directors. And I think specifically for Sarah Burns, since you wrote the book, that the documentary was the genesis of it. What was the actual genesis? How did you hear about the story, read about the story?
I was too young in 1989 to follow the story, but in the summer of 2003, I had a summer job during college working for a civil rights lawyer who was getting involved in the case, the civil suit. And I learned about the case then, and I met Raymond and Kevin that summer, and was so moved by their story and interested in the whole context for how this could have happened. I needed to understand that. And so that's how I came to write my undergraduate thesis, and then it just kept going. And a couple of years later, started expanding that into a book. So it's been a long time that I've been following this story. This is a great culmination of that journey.
When you were writing your thesis and working on the book, had you already contacted these men, or was it something that occurred after you'd done your research that you realized that you were going to have more in-depth conversations with them and wanted them to be a part of the film?
From the very beginning, I mean, that was the first thing I did was reach out to them, and that sort of began our relationship of having these conversations over the course of many years. And I think that benefits the interviews that you see in the film because there's some history behind them. It wasn't the first time we met to just sit down and talk about this, that there were years of conversations that had gone on before that.
Because we had knew Sarah already, and she wanted to write a paper on us at the beginning. Nobody else asked to write a paper. And so we was fine with that. And through the course of that, we became friends, and a friendship developed. And so when she came back and she wanted to write the book, we had, trust was already there, so we knew that she was going to do a good job with it. And when we read the book, it was like, wow, because she told all the facts, and she told the story straight. And so now, we didn't know her dad was Ken Burns, But she said, well, my dad, is Ken Burns. We was like, who's Ken Burns? We don't know who that is. So they had to give us a couple of movies and say, well, this is who Ken Burns is. So when the opportunity presented itself, we jumped on it because we already had a rapport with Sarah. And we knew that the story was going to be told straight, and we was all on board 100%.
And at what point as well, Sarah, did you involve David McMahon and your father in the creative process of creating the film?
Pretty early on in researching and working on the book, I think we all sort of, I don't even remember having a conversation about it. I think it was so obvious that we had to make a film about this, that it begged for a film.
I just remember Sarah was starting to write the book and would send the first pages, and I would read them, and by page 3, I just knew we had to do this. And it's stylistically different and exciting, and we've exploded a lot of stylistic stuff that we've done in the past. But at the heart of it is the same old question that we've had in almost all the films that we've made about the nature of the United States and the way in which race plays a huge role in what it was. And it seemed a continuation of everything we've done, and yet an opportunity to break through in other ways, in styles of editing and lack of narration, all sorts of things. And so it was just evidently clear to all of us.
I think what permitted us maybe to break away from some of the conventions that have served Ken so well for so many years was the Five's generosity in sharing their story, and also a kind of command of what had happened to them, a sort of deep understanding of how they went from having a night in the park to hours later confessing to this crime that they didn't witness and didn't participate in. It's really the strength of the Five and their understanding of their own stories that permitted us to begin a different kind of approach to this story.
Can you tell us anything about the court case?
As you saw here, it was filed in 2003. It's a civil rights lawsuit. The plaintiffs are the Five and many of their family members as well. And The defendants are the City of New York and the NYPD, as well as a number of the individuals, prosecutors and police officers who work towards the convictions. And that suit is now 9 years old, and they are taking depositions. And so there's no trial date scheduled at the moment. That's still probably a couple of years away.
Yeah, what happens is that the NYPD, since they know they're guilty, they don't want to admit it, so they start using these stall tactics. And so recently, one of the newest stall tactics was the subpoena or the outtakes from the Burns and to see if there was some discrepancies in there. They thought they were going to find something.
We resisted that subpoena.
Yeah.
We are not complying with that subpoena. They do not yet have their hands on our outtakes or our notes or anything like that. We find it a horrible, horrible intrusion into the journalistic and First Amendment process of the American society.
These are wounds that can never be healed completely, but do you feel like telling your story in this way, in such an intimate documentary, and in this form, that first person allowed you to have some catharsis, to feel somewhat healed?
Well, we always say that this is a tremendous healing process, to be able to come in front of folks after seeing it with you all, experiencing it all over again with you all. It's a healing process, and it's an indelible scar, of course, that's not going to go away. But to be received this way, for the public to be able to be embracing, to be outraged also, that's tremendous.
It's a really funny thing. This has a lot of complicated things about this country, about justice, about race, but it's also really basic human things. It's about, as Jim Dwyer says, about mistakes. It's about the truth. It's about 5 lives that were denied a life at the time of the coverage, and just an attempt in this film to just say, who are you? Who are you? And that's what the film is, in essence, is in some ways just a portrait of 5 people as well.
It's hard to go back and look at this film. I actually have a slight headache right now. It's hard to digest it all, because the process of going back there, the process of reliving it, even though it's difficult, one of the things that I have to say as well is that it's necessary.
God is great, y'all. We're here, and I thank y'all, LA, for coming out and hanging out from the beginning to the very end of the program. And God is grateful for the angel, Sarah Burns, and her father, the great Ken Burns, and her husband, David. If it wasn't for them, y'all wouldn't be hearing about us at all.
At the end of the day, we're still trying to put it together, and it's very difficult because this case is still pending. And in order for us to move forward, it has to be closed. We need some type of closure, and that's not happening anytime soon. So what we do is we try to cope. And one of the things that we do is that we go out and speak to kids, in junior high schools and colleges. And we do that because that becomes very therapeutic for us. That's one. And then 2, we decided that we have to invest in our future, and our future is these kids. These are our future doctors, our future lawyers, our presidents, and we have to take initiative and invest in them because nobody invested in us. So we have to stop that cycle, and this is how we get back.